The house falls quiet. General Hospital's farewell to Monica Quartermaine. There are days in Port Charles when the pulse of the city seems to synchronize with the Quartermaine mansion. Contracts are inked, secrets are inked over, and the stubborn rhythm of family insists on being heard above the din. September 17, 2025, begins as one of those ordinary, insistently busy mornings, the kind of morning that pretends history is not waiting on the landing upstairs. In the front hall, book bags thump and laces knot. In the den, phones buzz with names that have caused trouble for years. At the kitchen threshold, a familiar argument prepares to put down roots. You would never suspect that a legend's final page is about to turn, until everything in that great house suddenly listens. The morning that kept trying to be normal. Wiley is all elbows and shine, too excited for his first day of school to finish his breakfast, and too proud of the new backpack to set it down. He is the purest kind of Quartermaine contradiction. A child whose life is bullet-pointed by board meetings and court dates, but who still greets a Tuesday like a treasure. Across town, Detective Harrison Chase is half in the case and half in his coffee, scanning an update that threatens to bend his day in 10 directions. And out by the stables, Cody Bell has made mischief an art form so disarming it almost counts as innocence. He is rehearsing a story he won't need, the way he always does, because trouble knows his name but often forgets why it called. Inside the mansion, Tracy Quartermaine is the weather system everyone else must navigate. She takes her seat at the dining table with the authority of a chairwoman and the vigilance of a general, assigning priorities with a flick of her gaze. The children first, the headline second, the scandal. Well, there's always a scandal, isn't there? Brooke Lynn ferries pancakes and pep talks with a competence learned from music rehearsals and family crises alike, and Michael, restless, careful, already calculating what the day might demand, pretends the house can't read his pulse. The doorbell cuts through it all. One sound, and the mansion pivots. Two visitors carrying an old ritual. Willow steps in with Scout at her side. They don't bring storm clouds so much as the kind of humidity that tells you a storm has already formed. Willow's explanation is soft around the edges. It's Wiley's first day, and Scout wants to continue her tradition, that small, luminous ritual Monica Quartermaine made sacred. Words of luck from a woman who specialized in turning white coats into armor and family history into a map rather than a trap. Brooke Lynn, attuned to the mercies of custom, ushers the children upstairs before the adults can turn the threshold into a witness stand. Left behind in the sudden hush, Michael and Tracy assess Willow the way Quartermaines assess everything that walks into their home, against the ledger of intention and consequence. Willow meets their scrutiny without flinching. She is not here for an ambush, she insists. She is here because some acts of continuity matter more than the day's chessboard. But truth has a way of stowing away in a sentence, and before she can glide past, it spills. Drew told her he believes Michael pulled the trigger. The accusation sits between them like a shard of glass, visible, unavoidable, catching light at every angle. Willow does not clutch her pearls, she tightens her language. Custody, she reminds them, is a word that doesn't care about context. Tracy's expression does what it has done for decades. It tells you she already knew there was one more shoe to drop and that she has retained the right, always, to decide when to drop it. She dismisses the debate with a snap of her attention. The matter at hand is not Willow. It is not even Michael, yet. A phone call that rearranges oxygen. Tracy steps aside and dials, and the house seems to lean in, as though mahogany could eavesdrop. Jason answers. In the world beyond Port Charles, they would call him many things. In this house, at his mother's address, he is simply the man you call because he will show up and do the thing that must be done. Tracy tells him what she saw, Michael, at Drew's house, running from the scene where a life was nearly ended. She does not embellish, she does not apologize. The Quartermaine way has always favored hard truths delivered in clean lines. Jason's reply is spare and steady, he's handling it. He offers no drama, which is how you know the stakes are high. Then Tracy makes a second request, the one that matters more than any argument downstairs. Be the person to tell Monica that Drew has been shot. There is a reason families appoint heralds for terrible news. There is a reason certain names feel like anchors in storms. Jason, who has borne more tidings than any one life should hold, does not hesitate. He climbs. The staircase that became a timeline. There are distances that tapes cannot measure, and the trip from the foyer to Monica's room has always been one of them. It is a climb lined with portraits that double as a courtroom. Alan smiling in a way the house has not quite replicated since he left. Ancestors who paid for their arrogance in the currency of public spectacle. Monica herself, captured mid-laughter in a photograph that has trained the next generation how to survive a crisis with wit intact. Jason moves through that gallery like a man walking both toward and through his past. He touches the banister that steadied him the first time he stumbled as a boy and the 1,000 times he returned as something else. He passes the landing where Monica once stood and counted breaths until a fight turned into a conversation. Every step is a caption. Every step is a memory of a woman who made the house feel like an instrument that could be tuned, even when the family's performance was a cacophony. Behind the door, quiet. Not the heavy silence of abandonment, not yet, but the poised hush that comes before someone says your name and you answer from the other room. He knocks, because that is how Monica raised him. He enters, because that is what the day requires. What happens next does not elaborate. It does not need to be. There is the reaching for her, the human reflex toward reassurance, and then there is the recognition, the irreversible kind, that the reassurance will not be mutual. Monica Quartermaine has slipped past the negotiations of this house. She has done the bravest thing the living ever do, she has finished. She's gone. When Jason returns to the foyer, the mansion's acoustics perform a miracle of empathy. They let the entire house hear what is whispered to one person. Tracy meets him at the foot of the stairs. He does not make a speech, he carries a verdict. She's gone, he tells her, and the words re-engineer gravity. The air changes temperature. The hall clock forgets its manners and stops keeping time. For a long moment, even the walls are bereaved. Tracy has stood in the blast zone of more revelations than anyone alive in that house, but this is the one that asks her to set down her armor. She does it without ceremony. The steely angle of her jaw softens. The ledger in her mind loses its columns. There is a small, audible exhale, the sound of a woman exchanging command for grief. And then she does the most Quatermain thing imaginable. She begins, through tears she tries not to show, to take care of everyone else. Above them, Brooke Lynn shepherds two children away from a room that will never again belong to the person they loved to surprise. In the driveway, a car door closes, the mundane punctuation of a world that does not yet know it should be lowering its voice. Out by the stables, Cody stops mid-joke and cannot remember the punchline. Across town, Chase glances up from a case file as if someone had called his name from very far away. A legacy in the present tense. Monica Quatermain's power was never solely in scalpel or statute, it was in the way she widened rooms. Grief crowds, but her memory does the opposite. Even now, as calls go out, to family, to friends, to the city that watched her choose courage like a profession, there is an expansion. Story after story returns to the house like homing birds. The impossible diagnosis she refused to let define a life. The sum of second chances she handed out like prescriptions. The raised eyebrow that could pry confession from the stubborn, and the hug that closed the case after they offered it. For Jason, the legacy lands in quiet coordinates. A mother who chased him into silence and waited there until it thawed. A woman who understood that love and accountability are not rivals but partners. A home that believed in showing up more than showing off. For Tracy, the legacy is strategic and soft at once. A worthy sparring partner, a co-architect of the Quatermain mythos, a competitor who insisted that victory include mercy. For Brooke Lynn, it is permission, to be ambitious without apology and tender without fear. For Wiley and Scout, too young to master the calculus of loss but old enough to remember the way Monica knelt to meet their eyes, it is the lesson that rituals matter because they make time behave. The ripples that will not stop. The day tries to resume its plot lines, because that is what days do. Chase's investigation still needs answers. Cody's antics will hiccup back to life and then be tempered by the knowledge that levity is a service, not a distraction. Willow's admission about Drew's suspicion cannot be taken back. Michael's future as a father is now threaded through with questions that cut. The house will have to decide what to do with those questions. It always does. But each thread now passes through a common spool: Monica's absence. She was the person to tell when the latest Quatermain catastrophe threatened to turn into theater instead of truth. She was the one who cut to the motive and then straight to the heart. Without her, the family will test its reflexes in new ways. Perhaps they will talk a fraction more slowly. Perhaps they will remember that winning the argument and keeping the relationship are not the same sport. Perhaps Jason, in the hours ahead, will take his mother's last request, the one that put him on the staircase, not as an errand but as a charge, to handle the unhandleable with decency. The curtain rises on a memorial. On September 18th, the series shifts registers from story to ceremony. Port Charles gathers, and so does the audience beyond it, to honor not only Monica Quartermaine but Leslie Charleson, the actor whose intelligence and warmth taught a whole town how to be complicated and kind at the same time. The memorial is as layered as the life. Hospital colleagues who learned to stand taller by trying to keep up, family who learned to stand together by failing and trying again, friends who understood that Monica's wit was the kind that asked you to be sharper, braver, truer. The program is simple and right. There are photographs that insist on being more than images. There are recollections that refuse to turn into gossip. There are tears that embarrass no one and laughter that feels like gratitude rehearsed into muscle memory. If there is a theme, it is this: a great character, and a great artist, does not vanish from a canvas. She alters the colors the rest of us are allowed to use. The house, listening. By evening, the mansion remembers how to breathe. The grandfather clock resumes its manners. Footsteps relearn their paths. In the room upstairs, the light falls across the quilt the way it always has, but now it feels like a benediction. Downstairs, the family negotiates practicalities because grief is both ache and agenda. Who to call, what to postpone, how to honor. Somewhere in the middle of it all, Brooke Lynn finds the words to tell Wiley and Scout what they already understand, that the person who wished them luck on every first day has given them something larger than luck to carry. When the front door finally closes on the night, Jason stands at the base of the staircase and looks up at the landing where everything changed. It will keep changing. That is the point, and the price, of love that lasts. Tomorrow will bring meetings, interrogations, accusations, apologies. The Quartermaines will make choices worthy of their name and mistakes to match. Through it, the house will hold them, because she taught it how. Monica's voice lingers not in echo but in instruction. Choose courage, even when it's noisy. Choose tenderness, especially when it's not. And if you cannot yet choose, walk the stairs. Someone you love taught you how. General Hospital has always been a conversation between what hurts and what heals. In saying goodbye to Monica, and in saluting Leslie Charleson's decades of stewardship, the series does not close a chapter so much as leave a margin wide enough for every character to write something better than the sentence they were given. The story that tried so hard to be ordinary this morning became, by night, what it was always destined to be, a testament to how families endure. Who will feel the loss most acutely? The honest answer is, all of them, each in the language Monica helped them learn. Jason, in the silences that suddenly ring. Tracy, in the strategies that now require a softer edge. Brooke Lynn, in the music that will pick up a second melody. Wiley and Scout, in the rituals they will keep because keeping is how we continue. And the rest of us, watching, in the recognition that greatness in Port Charles was never about surviving the scandal, it was about surviving one another with love. Share whose grief you anticipate, and whose grace you're eager to see, because in Port Charles, and beyond it, the conversation doesn't end when the house falls quiet. It deepens.